Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Nathan Fox, one of the founders of LSATdemon.com and our weekly podcast, Thinking LSAT. With me today is Erik Johansson, a teacher with us at LSAT Demon. Erik, we've got an email here from Liam, who has a 3.34 GPA and a 175 LSAT. He submitted his apps in January, which is contrary to our advice, but it was before he found our podcast.
Yeah, summarizing some of the preamble to Liam's email, but
Yes.
made it clear that he regrets that decision. Liam writes, after listening to much of your advice about applications, I realized that my application philosophy has been pretty bad. For example, applying so late, making excuses in addenda rather than focusing on positives, and rushing my applications more generally. With all of this in mind, I think that it's likely that I'll decide to reapply for admission in the fall of 2026.
Love it. Great. Fantastic. So now, to be clear, you're going to apply in the fall of 2025 this year. You're going to apply this September for admission next September. Excellent.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Like, can't possibly go wrong. Just withdraw all your applications. You didn't do it the right way this first time through. You want to do a redo. Just withdraw your applications. Don't worry. If you leave your applications in, you're going to get a bunch of bad offers, or maybe some of them will be kind of good, but they won't be as good as they could have been if you would have done it right. So like a kind of good offer could be your worst enemy, right? So just go ahead and burn those boats, as Ben would say, and just withdraw all of your apps.
Yeah. So I'll reapply next cycle, if only to do so earlier for better scholarship opportunities, and so I can find work in a legal office so I can really see if the profession is right for me. My first question is a general one. What are the pitfalls one should be aware of when reapplying to the same schools during a later cycle?
Literally none. And you've done this, Erik.
I have, yeah. I applied 2 years ago. I reapplied this cycle. My school list was not 100% repeat, but there were many schools that I reapplied to. In general, my results at the schools that I reapplied to were either the same or better than in the previous cycle. There are, I think, 1 or 2 schools in the top 14, top 10 where maybe I was waitlisted and I was just outright rejected this time. One school where I was admitted with 0 scholarship that waitlisted me this time around. I suspect that those like negative turn in the results have to do with the competitiveness of this admission cycle in particular compared to 2 years ago.
Not because you applied last cycle, because you got many offers that were better.
Correct. Yeah. I have 0 indication that there are any downsides to reapplying.
On average, your offers the second time around were better than the offers the first time around. And
That's
what
correct.
did you do differently? New personal statement.
A new personal statement that I think was better. I was more intentional and just real with my supplemental essays as well. I wasn't going to apply to a school if I couldn't make a real case for like why I wanted to go to that law school. And I think that was reflected in my YX essays.
Yeah.
I got a additional letter of recommendation from a professional source, which I did not have last time around. I think on the whole, I just did a better job expressing who I was, what my reason was for wanting to go to law school and these law schools in particular.
Great.
Yeah. So in terms of pitfalls, only the pitfalls that would happen with a regular application. No additional pitfalls, I don't think, to reapplying. Okay, second question from Liam. Is it a good idea to retake the LSAT in hopes of a higher score? Remember, Liam's LSAT is 175. Maybe it's silly, but I'm worried about the optics of retaking the test after a 99th percentile score. I've heard some say that doing so may be held against you. The scholarship estimator indicates that it could have a positive impact. If I do score higher, though, I would really appreciate your input. And I will say that we received a number of emails from students in the mid 170s asking this exact question, because January scores just came out and we have 175s, 176s, wondering, hey, I've scored 177, 178 on practice tests. Should I reapply, or should I retake with my 175, 176? What do you think, Nate?
I don't know. At the top of Thinking LSAT podcast, episode 494, which we recorded earlier today, at the top of that episode, we had an email from someone who had retaken off of a 173. They actually retook a 171 and got a 173. Then they retook the 173. Their friends and family were like, "You're crazy. What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" And they scored a 176. And the day after they got that 176, they got their first offer from some, they say, Ivy League school, whatever that means. It does matter at a certain point. Now, 173 is probably 98th percentile. And so, they went from the 98th percentile to the 99th percentile. But like, what do you think Harvard, Stanford, Yale, what kinds of students do you think they admit? They get so many applications, they're going to admit single digits of the people who apply, single digit percentages of the people who apply.
Yeah, and the difference between that 173 to 176 versus a 175 up is very different at those top schools, because that's where the median is. I just pulled up Harvard's 509. Their median is 174. So if you're getting above that median, that's a big difference. If you're just looking to improve your LSAT to go like even further beyond a median, I think that there have to be diminishing returns on that, because the schools really care about their medians.
Sure. And Stanford's median last year was a 173. But Yale's median last year was also a 174. So, you're above the median at every school with your 175. That means that it does seem kind of unlikely that it's really going to matter to those schools, or honestly any other school, because, if you're going to get into Yale, like I don't think that a 177 is really that much better than a 175.
Yeah. Go work at NASA and then come back and you'll be a more compelling applicant.
For those kinds of schools, yeah. Do really amazing shit in the real world, in addition to your 99th percentile LSAT and your 4.0. That's the kind of people that get into Harvard, Stanford, Yale. Maybe not Harvard because it's such a big class, but Stanford, Yale, like the real small slivers of, okay, all that said, so it's like, I can't imagine ever looking at somebody and saying, yes, you need to retake a 175. But I also do not agree that there's any downside to doing so.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine what downside there would possibly be when the law schools only report your highest LSAT.
Yeah, Liam's worried about the optics, and I've certainly heard this before.
It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Pure bullshit. That is schools who want your application now. They have an incentive. They're like, whoa, that LSAT is higher than our median. They don't want you to have an LSAT that is way higher than their median. They just want you to have an LSAT that is at or above the median. And so they're always going to say shit. It's in their interest to not have you have the highest possible LSAT that you could have. They want your application today. So they are going to think, that, oh man, we might raise an eyebrow. But as a practical matter, or experientially, have you ever seen anybody have worse outcomes because they retook a high score and got an even higher score? I've never.
It seems unlikely that would be the determining factor. Like,
well,
I'm willing to grant that some admissions officer at Penn, who knows, would look at. Okay, because we're talking about very different law schools, types of law schools in this.
Let's talk about. But I think that's where this advice comes from. I think this advice comes from people at very mid law schools, where they're like, "Hey, you're already a great applicant at our school. We might. Oh boy, really? You're going to retake that 162?"
I think that I have heard some of the top 10 law school admissions folks saying this sort of thing before on podcasts. Yeah, claiming, we might look at you a little differently if you retake an LSAT and it's a 176.
It just doesn't stand to any kind of reason, though. Why? Why would because if the argument is we don't want perfectionists, What?
Well, I think
What do you mean you don't want? Yes, you do. That's exactly what you want is perfectionists. You want people who do perfect work yesterday. That's what the firms want. They want people who do perfect work. So
I think the argument would be, why are you, and I'm not saying I agree with this, just saying I'm trying to imagine what the reasoning would be. Why would you bother retaking this? Is that not just a waste of time? Does this indicate that you are focused on the wrong thing?
none of their business. And I mean, you're going to be a great applicant in a lot of other ways if you're going to be admissible to their school. I mean, sure, if you got nothing else on your resume and you got nothing on your transcript, you got nothing, like if it's nothing else, if you're just like the numbers, then I suppose maybe, but otherwise your time is your time. And you know, the fact that you thought you could do better, so you took it again, especially if you actually do score better, that is not going to be held against you. There's just no fucking way that's going to be held against you. And even if you score lower, they still only report your 175, Liam. So I just can't imagine that if you take it again and you get a 172, you're still a 175 to the ABA. You're still a 175 on their 509 report. I mean, you're still a 175 according to US News. So why does it matter to that? What business is it up there? So why would they give a shit? I just can't imagine. So
I agree with you.
I mean, there is a line where it's like, well, okay, there's just not that much upside. So from a 175, there's not a lot of upside.
Yeah, I chose to stand on my 175, even though I had practice tests as high as 180. Yeah. And it was just the decision of, hey, I'm done with this test. I'm above every median that I care to be above. And
I think that's a perfectly rational position to take.
Yeah.
But I don't think that there's actually downside. I think that there might not be any upside. Like retaking a 178, okay, there is zero upside.
Yeah.
Retaking a 175, retaking a 174 though, or a 173, yeah, there's upside there because you're going to move yourself above the medians for some law schools. And we don't know what's going to happen, right? Scores have been increasing, especially scores above 170 and especially above 175 have been increasing a lot recently. So maybe there is upside there. Who knows? Those percentiles could always move. Like this has been a very competitive application cycle. LSATs have been up. Maybe Yale's median next year is 176.
Wasn't it last year?
I think it might have been. I mean, I just looked at the recent 509 and it said it was 175, but
I think it might have been 175.
Or wait, what did I say? No, actually, I'm looking at the 2024 and it says median 174. So that's actually a dip down from where
I think it was 175 last year.
I think it has been 175. I was even going to say maybe 176. Point is, more is better. The downside doesn't really matter. The upside could be something or could not be something. I can't imagine that this is a big deal. I can't believe we've been talking about this for 20 minutes because I think the answer really is it doesn't fucking matter. You have a very good problem to have, Liam.
Yes, congratulations on your difficulties.
Yeah.
And right, well done. Yeah, well done on your decision to reapply. It's going to work out for you.
Oh, absolutely. Withdraw all those apps, reapply next cycle. You're in great shape. Thank you, Liam. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.